And that is the latest development we do have for you. As per now, it is a story that we're keeping an eye on, especially from the investigative authorities here in the country, to update us on how it is going in terms of investigation, which the main question is, who are the abductors? Were they able to pick up those young kids, of course, from their various counties that were recorded? Now, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights recently reported an alarming rise in cases of abduction and enforced disappearances. According to the Commission, 82 cases have been documented since June 2024, with 29 individuals still unaccounted for. The human rights organizations have condemned the abductions, calling for greater accountability from security forces and political leaders here in the country. And joining me for this particular conversation is none other than Sami Meli, a political analyst. Sami, karibu sana.
Asante, happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Next to Sami, we do have Reverend Dr. Elias Agola. Welcome,
thank you,
sir.
asante sana.
You. Welcome once more.
Asante sana.
Welcome for the show.
Thank you.
And of course, Shadrack Omboi, Wakili, you've just seen Wakili there talking about the incident there in Ngong Police Station. Let me start with you, Wakili. Just tell us, without even sensationalizing that particular situation,
yes.
Kavuli, what did he say?
No, thank you, Abdi, for the invitation, and I would wish first also to take this opportunity to wish you a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year
and to the viewers and to the listeners. This is the first time I'm coming here in this new year. Well, I am representing Mr. Bernard Kavuli and the family, and we are delighted at this moment that he came back in good peace, in one, feeling well, at the very least, at least from what we will see. But today he will be presented to a hospital, so where the doctors will be called upon to do some investigations. And some psychiatrists will also equally have an opportunity of assisting him in recovering, at least mentally, for the ordeal that he has undergone since the 22nd day of December 2024 to the 6th day of January 2025. So we are grateful to God, we are grateful at least to the public for the push. Had it not been for the unity of Kenyans on Twitter, for the press and the freedom of the press within the Republic of Kenya, then probably we will not have received him in one piece as we did yesterday. So for now, the much I can say as to probably his well-being is that we are hoping against hope that all shall be well. We did not speak very thoroughly as to what transpired during that period of time. You remember when we received the call that he had been, found stranded in Kitale, Moy's Bridge. The only thing that we did was now just to know how we can receive him. There was an indication that we were to receive him in Nakuru. I was actually on my way to Nakuru when I was informed that the police at Kitale had now resolved, I think through some command that had come from a certain direction, to present him to Ngong Police Station, where the family made a report on the 23rd day of December. So that is the much we can say for now. Remember, I'm also bound by the principle of confidentiality, when we look at the Evidence Act within the Republic of Kenya. But the least that we can say is that all is well. We need to continue with the push and fighting for democracy. I mean, these things are not granted. They're not given. Democracy is said not to be instant coffee. It does not just happen. People fight for democracy. The current constitutional dispensation we are enjoying, this is something that is a fruit of the fights that our people had from the 1963 all the way to the year 2009. Yes, that led to the birth of the current constitutional dispensation in the year 2010, the 27th day of August. Yes.
And of course, Reverend, we saw during the Christmas period, the church voice was clearly heard. As a country and the men of cloth in this particular country, are you concerned with these cases?
Thank you very much. I also want to wish Kenyans a very nice year, Happy New Year 2025, and to encourage us to be part of one another's life by thinking about each other and knowing that I am because you are, and the church remains the voice of the voiceless and the conscience of the society. To your question, whether we are concerned, I think it is known that the clamor for democracy, the clamor for change, the clamor for a better Kenya has always been led by the church. And the religious institutions for that matter, where the church is there, the Islamic community is there, the Hindu community is there. But majorly, the NCCK has played a major role in ensuring that we have a Kenya where every person has a voice and where every person is well served by the government of the day. And so, yes, when the civil society and the Law Society of Kenya and others are adding their voices, they are only adding their voices to what the church has initiated. And when these abductions are going on and when misgovernance is going on in the country, the church is the first to do it. Sometimes we do it in private before we come public, but we are pushed to come to the public when the private talks between a leader and another leader is made and it bears no fruit. Then we are forced to come out and air it. You are aware that in December, the churches, through our church leaders, have been talking and they have been making strong statements and they have been issuing statements and addressing the press, addressing the nation in different worship centers and saying that something has to be done. And the way to deal with dissenting voices is not the use of extreme force, and it's not the use of abduction, taking us back to the eras that we found when we were growing up, and the eras that faded when the clamor for the new constitution and free space was achieved in 2010. So we still remain that voice, and we will not stop talking when things go wrong. But again, we will be warning before they go wrong, because we have our ears on the ground, and everywhere you go in this country, everywhere at grassroots, you will always see a religious institution. So we hear the people on a daily basis, and we will always voice this. Yes.
Meli, your thoughts?
First, Happy New Year, Hashim, and Happy New Year to the listeners. Number one is that being a parent, it's agonizing to hear that your son or your daughter has disappeared without a trace. It is also agonizing when the same instruments of power that you expect to give you information on how things have gone, where the suspects are, perhaps don't know anything. Even the top leadership of the country seems not to know what is going on. This takes us back to the KANU era, where people would disappear. People have paid the ultimate price for us to get this new constitution, where on 27th of August 2010, when it was promulgated, the first clause of the constitution that took effect immediately after the signing and the placing of the seal was the Bill of Rights. I wish our leadership and the supporters, because sometimes it may not be the leader who has orchestrated whatever is happening, it could be a supporter somewhere who got agitated, that we become tolerant to dissenting voices. We become tolerant to somebody who has a different opinion, because if we go back to what has happened in the past, even President Moi had his own silhouettes. The KJ and the Mado and the Gado used to cartoon him, and you would see even the gap in the teeth was wider than the mouth itself, and he had no problem with it. So if the presidency has no problem with those silhouettes, then the followers and the gatekeepers should not have a problem with it. We have seen our president even embracing the sarcasm in all the names that he has been called, and that shows that perhaps the leadership has no problem. There could be a gang somewhere that is, and the instruments of power should get to the root cause of this. We don't want the plowing back of the KANU era, where there were Nyati houses where people were being squeezed to give information. There were Nyayo house torture chambers. We don't want to go there. The police can summon you if they have a problem. The DCI can summon you and tell you, you have contravened this part of the law. Come, we hear your statement, and you are presented in court. I think we have enough men and women with the integrity in judiciary who can prosecute and who can listen to the cases that they have against these people and make a determination. Otherwise, making the young men disappear in this country. And we are not in the dark ages where information. Nowadays, information spreads like wildfire. Yes. So I think our leadership should embrace the dissenting opinions, and at the same time, where there are freedoms, there are responsibilities. I was talking to a friend in the US the other day. He's coming tomorrow, landing tomorrow, and he told me, you guys are over-exercising the freedoms. We have those freedoms in the US, but we have never put our president in a casket. We have never thought of a president being buried except when they are dead, actually, and the real photos come out. So I think our youth also should learn to be tolerant. We have, if we have a bad government, we have a constitution whereby there are ways of removing that government. One of them is through election. They should marshal themselves. 2027 is here, is coming. They can do what they want and replace the leadership. The other way, they can recall. Another way, they can even ask their members of parliament to pass a vote of no confidence. And those ways are there. Otherwise, if we go this way, where we go to work like a banana republic, where we want to work without the constitution, we are going the wrong way and will spoil this country. Even the media, perhaps those media houses that are advocating and over-advocating for some things, they may not have that space after this country is disintegrated and it becomes something else. We have limits in our rights. Your right ends where mine begins. If you were to punch, make sure you punch, but don't touch my skin. And you have that freedom to exercise. And if you have an issue, sue me. The advocates are here, the lawyers are here, they can present that case in court, and I can be penalized for the mistake I've done. Yes.
And Wakili, we have seen even the judiciary itself getting involved and asking the perpetrators, the IG, to even ensure that the perpetrators are caught and the abductees are produced in court. But you do know that the deadline is tomorrow. The IG is expected to come to court. So are we likely to see some of these young fellows who have just been freed yesterday coming to court?
Well, the application that lies before court, or the petition first, there is an interlocutory application that had invited the court to compel the Inspector General of Police, amongst other state actors, to present, either dead or alive, the 6 missing gentlemen. But as far as we are concerned, as it is today morning, I do not know whether we have received any other news, but we only have 5 out of the 6 that have been since re-emerged. So tomorrow, perhaps just to confirm whether there is need or wisdom to pursue the reliefs that have been sought, it will be important for the court to be informed whether these gentlemen have since been reproduced. Remember, the court as a protector of liberties must be blind. You know, you remember even the statute that was there, it is blind, Lady Justice is blind and is naked. So that he does not, we will not assume that the judge has seen from our televisions that Bernard Kavuli and the rest have since been released. No, this information must be shared with the court. So on our part, we'll be representing that position or presenting that position to court so that we can inform the court that as far as the interlocutory application is concerned, with the production of Mr. Bernard Kavuli, he has since re-emerged. He has since been set free by his abductors. So we will now have to pursue the other reliefs that are in the petition, which now includes the question about the declaration of his rights. Remember, he has rights under the Constitution that have been violated. So we'll be trying to push the conversation, or rather the argument, to persuade the court that indeed from the recounts now, through an affidavit that will be shared, because we'll be filing an affidavit by Mr. Bernard Kavuli. Through that affidavit, we will now try to set down, blow by blow, the accounts that led to his abduction, the incident that happened on the 22nd day of December, and now throughout that period, how they were treating him, whether he was being fed well, whether he was sleeping on a bed, whatever kind of situation that happened during that period, up to the 6th. where he was released by his abductors. So that account will be shared by the court to persuade the court that there are certain declarations that need to be made. Subsequent to that, we will also be persuading the court that in view of the violations having been proved, then the court must exercise or should exercise its power to now pronounce certain compensation so that the person of Bernard Kavuli and the rest can be compensated. But now the only situation that the court has to deal with, or the Law Society of Kenya and other petitioners have to deal with, will be now the question about the missing gentleman from Mololongo. I think it's Steve Musimi. So that is the only individual that now we cannot move forward to making arguments in support or in opposition to the petition until he's been produced. And that is the prerogative duty of the Inspector General of Police, because he's the one that swore to ensure that all of us feel safe within the Republic of Kenya. So that is as far as the matters in court are concerned. But it is important to underscore that when it comes to matters about people infringing on other people's rights, of course we appreciate that your right will end where mine begins. But when I have violated yours, you cannot now take the law into your own hands. You cannot now slap me because I have called you names or have thrown certain jibes at you. No, what you need to do is let us now follow or be respectful to the kind of legal systems we have created for ourselves. If I have insulted you, if you feel very offended about things I have done or I have omitted to do, just go report. After you have reported, let the persons who are given the duty to take action, report me, sue me. If you're using your lawyers for defamation, you will be sued. You will sue other people. You will get compensation. If people have abused the internet, there are certain provisions that the DCI have been using. So take that initiative. After you've taken that initiative, let these people also answer to their offenses. But when we now want to, you want to turn Kenya into these neighboring countries where we do not have laws or laws that, people have taken themselves to be the all supremo. No, this is Kenya. And Kenya, we have given ourselves a constitution. We have delineated powers and responsibilities. We have said that Mchungaji here will have the responsibility of, looking for souls and converting them for Christ. I have been given the responsibility of safeguarding the constitutional promises that were given to us. Meli there has been given the responsibility of enlightening people so that they make the correct political choices. So we do not want to mix issues. That whatever has been given to Meli, I am doing. Whatever Mchungaji is supposed to do, Meli is doing. So when we end up mixing those issues, we end up now losing a republic. We end up losing the very fabric that has made our constitutional democracy. So we need to respect, knowing too well that we're not doing it for the current Kenya Kwanza dispensation. No, we're not doing it for anybody else. We are doing it for the posterity of this nation. The time that has been set for the President William Dr. Samoei Ruto is just set in law. Whether he likes it or not, if he secures his re-election, he must exit the stage by the year 2032 if he secures the re-election. And that is the law. If we are not comfortable about that position, this is something that should be presented to the people so that the people can change. So we know that there will be a Kenya long after William Samoei Ruto has exited office. We have Kenya long after Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta exited office. And we are doing as we are doing right now. Not very well, but we are still struggling on. We are fighting for democracy.
Okay. Reverend, going forward, what should be seen, especially so that we can never go back to the dark ages you were talking about earlier?
Before that, I would want to add my voice to what Wakili has said, that if the courts said that the Inspector General should produce these people, alive or dead, the lawyers should not cut corners. They should go to what the court ordered. And I like what Wakili said, that one of them was found in Kitale, but the report was made in a police station in Gong. So the police station is under the Inspector General of the police. And so these people should be produced by the police now to the courts so that we continue to push for the one that has not been found. But if it is a gentleman agreement that now that they are found, the Inspector General is not obliged to produce them, that may not be good. I would want to see a country where we have our laws, we interpret them, and we follow those laws to the letter. And when that is done, then we will not be in a banana republic, we will not be in a country with laws that are not being followed. And the rules that we have, including the constitutional provisions, have to be respected by all. Answering your question, the leaders are supposed to respect the Constitution. The rights are there, but as somebody has said, I don't want to say they end where yours begins. I'm saying that each one of us is living within their rights. It's a parallel movement where you have yours, I have mine, and I respect yours. So there is no way, if it is parallel, then I will infringe into yours. We will be respecting one another, we'll be living with one another, we'll be performing something that is going to take us forward. So for somebody to misuse also the freedom that is given by overstepping their mandate, I think that one should also stop. Whether we have freedom to draw cartoons or not, we need also to know, you draw my cartoon, am I happy with it? But then, if I'm not happy with mine, again, I should also ask myself, how should I counter what you have done? Is it by abducting you? Is it by causing pain to your family? Is it by causing an uproar? Or why are you exactly doing it? I think some of these things that are happening in this country today is a distraction from the real issues. We have the issue of the IBC, which is threatening the fabric of this country. If anything happens to anybody in elective positions, as it has happened already in some constituencies, why would you be punishing somebody in a particular constituency, a particular ward, just because you do not want to set up an institution that is guaranteed in the Constitution? I take all these abductions to be distraction from the real issues. The real issues that Kenyans are asking. Kenyans are asking for a proper health care, a proper education system. Kenyans are asking for a proper commission that will help us in case we have issues that call for elections, including today. Why would somebody block that? Why would somebody not talk about that and distract our minds by abducting people? I'm not saying the government is doing it, but I can as well say you cannot be in charge and not know what we are doing. When we got into this table this morning, you gave us your rules about our phones, about anything that we are doing here. You have your rules. So who is supposed to ensure that these rules are adhered to? It is you. Why? Because you are the one who KBC has put in charge here. Now, if we have put you in charge of this country, we have put you in charge of these other sectors in the country, why are you telling us that you don't know where these people are? Yet you have people who are being paid by the taxpayers. I would want to say, to answer your question, that the leaders have a share of a responsibility. All leaders, not only political leaders, even us in the religious sector and leaders in the political sector, the leaders in the corporate sector, all leaders have a share of their responsibility, which is distinct from the people that they lead. And the citizens also have a share of their responsibilities. You cannot just blast a leader anyhow. It is not ethical, it is not allowed. But at the same time, children have to be children. Sometimes you have to let them to be children so that we know how to guide them. And in guiding, we don't cause a lot of pain to their parents, as has been. You saw that gentleman, that mzee, cry. He cried in the courts. Do you want to see the tears of your fellow man any day, crying because of the child that is claiming, that is being claimed to have been abducted by unknown people, and they are still just here? We do not want instances of what happened in Shakahola, where people die and you say you didn't know. Is there a chief in that area? Is there an assistant chief? Is there a village man in that area? And how do things happen in that area and somebody says he doesn't know? So we are not going to allow such things to happen without our voice. And we keep on saying that all of us are leaders. Let us consult when things are wrong. Let us know that all of us have a country to protect, and we need to turn ourselves into champions of peace and champions of a better Kenya.
And of course, Millie, you're even nodding in agreement with the Reverend when it comes to addressing this particular concern. So as a Kenyan and Kenyans out there who will be waiting to see if the IG will even appear before the courts, is accountability and responsibility expected to be shown there?
The National Police Service main mandate is to maintain law and order. So the Inspector General should know first that his duty is to make sure that there is law in this country and order. If he has been summoned to appear in court, what does the law say? You respect the law, because you are the symbol of where law and order is, not disloyalty and disorder, where there's no law and there's no order. This country, we have a law that we follow. The word of the courts is as good as the Constitution. If the court, the magistrate or the judge rules that you appear you just have to appear. You remember, we don't want a scenario whereby, like last time, where the acting IG was asked to come and he didn't appear, and then there was a warrant of arrest, and nobody knows who will arrest the Inspector General of Police, because the rest of the officers are their juniors. So what we are looking for is an Inspector General who knows what is going on in the country, so that we say, the buck stops with the President being the appointing authority. But the National Police Service should do its job. It shouldn't tell us that we don't know. So who knows? If they don't know, then does it mean now we take laws into our own hands, because the instrument given that responsibility do not know? Today, before the end of the day, the Inspector General should know where these young men are, bring them together and present to the court and say, these are the 5 I have received. There's one more who is still missing. And I am agonizing with those parents of that young man, because you don't know what is going on. It is good to know a child who has been arrested who is in a police cell, because you can even take bread and milk for them, some food. You can have a chat of 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. The advocate can visit them at any time. But now, where the child seems to be living in a cocoon somewhere in this country where no one knows. And the way they were released, all of them the same day, is suspect. The police knows something. There is somebody in this country who is in charge of that. And if there is somebody who is in charge of that we should get to the deep root, the depth of all this, and know why did this person arrest these young men, keep them incommunicado for all those days. They didn't celebrate their New Year. They didn't celebrate. Some did not even see Christmas. Some were supposed to report in an institution where they had gotten scholarship, and they could not make it because you have just come and kidnap. And what is wrong in case somebody has done a mistake, appearing at their home and say, we are the DCI, we are the police, we are the NIS, we are pursuing your son because of certain interests. Kindly if you have a lawyer, because I think there are those rights.
Yes.
You have the right to remain silent, and if you have a right to a lawyer, if you need one. Our police don't say that. They just arrest you. So, and I think we are operating in a certain manner where the president should refuse this. He should refuse if there is somebody who has done a mistake, and he should even summon the Inspector General and ask him, I gave you a job. What are you doing? Yes. Why would people ask me where the people, the abductees are when you are there? In fact, the question should be directed to the Inspector General and his deputies and the entire police service, because they are the people who patrol the entire country. They know every corner of the country. Where are the chiefs, as we are saying? Where are the village elders? Nowadays, we even don't know our village elders. I'm sure even where the good lawyer lives, he doesn't know the chief or the assistant chief of that area, because they have retreated. Who's doing the job? Everybody has retreated to their comfort zone, and like the president is the one talking about government projects, and even the PSS don't talk about it. The cabinet secretaries don't talk about it. Thank God the other day, the few who have come on board are now speaking, and we are getting to understand what is going on in the country. Otherwise, we have a situation whereby everybody, we are saying everybody for himself and God for us all. But we have a government we put in place. The government starts from the lower level all the way to the top. But the president should hold those people responsible. Even if he doesn't know what happened, he should ask the Inspector General. The National Police Service, this body where it, what do you call it?
NIS.
Not NIS, the one that checks on the, confirms checks and balances in the police service. IPOA. The IPOA should come out again at the same time and ask the Inspector General, because perhaps the chairman or whoever is in charge of IPOA is under the Inspector General. He should be above him and ask him questions. We are hearing complaints about this. Please report to us what is not happening. Because we are waiting until the masses come to the streets. That's when we act. And that's so unfortunate. Supposing it happens like the other day, we couldn't control the masses. What would happen? And at the end of the day, we lose other young men. Something somewhere is not right.
Yes. And of course, I disclaim on what you just said earlier, in terms of the suspect being released in the same actually day that suspect and the police know. We are here to establish that. Let me go to Shadrach. Because we cannot establish, you're not an investigative agency here. Let me go to Shadrach. Shadrach, you've just said something very, very interesting, and even Reverend has touched upon it. So if the sixth individual is not produced in court tomorrow, what happens? What scenarios are likely to play out tomorrow?
Well, perhaps even before I respond to that, you know, Meli mentioned something about my area chief. My area chief, unlike those other chiefs probably, is called Mr. Moshi. And he's a hard worker. He's actually an assistant who had been promoted now to the assistant chief in Olkeri ward. And I know he's a hard worker. We had an incident even at night. And, you know, he's been trying to coordinate with the members of Olkeri. So I think in Kajiado North, we are safe for now. Now, when we want to at least analyze what is likely to happen tomorrow, it means that while we had hoped that the production of the 6 people will automatically lead to the application having been overtaken by events, so that we can now dive into the issues in the petition to help now in you know, proving to court that the rights that we have alleged have been violated have actually been violated, so that now the court can proceed and award different compensations, or a compensation, a global sum compensation for all the abductees. So the absence of this 6th person who had been abducted means that we now have to remain at the same position, so that we can compel the Inspector General of Police by whatever means necessary that he leads to the production, or he causes the production of these 6 abductees. You know, Abdi, there is a way in which we need to also clarify to the minds of the viewers. There is the workings of the law. You know, the law works in very mysterious ways. In Ngaimurunya, Peter Munderu will tell you that sheria ni msumeno, unakata mbele na nyuma. So, and it is important that you understand that sometimes you are given an obligation to do something, so that if you fail to do it, then that inaction, it is in itself negligence when it comes to your responsibility. And I'm making reference to this, especially in regards or in reflection to what the Inspector General of Police had mentioned previously. When the Inspector General of Police was asked whether he knows, about these abductions, as the IG of the Republic of Kenya, he said he is not aware, he does not know who is causing the abductions. Remember, when he took his oath of office, he was given a certain duty. And because of this duty that we bestowed upon him, number one, to help us in investigations. Number two, to ensure that we have the enforcement of the law within the Republic of Kenya. So those two responsibilities, and number three, to help in the appointment of his officers, so that when it comes to those three responsibilities, he cannot be directed by any person. He cannot be directed by the minister in charge of interior. He cannot be directed by the president. He cannot be directed by anybody. Even he cannot be directed by the DPP. But the only person who has a window to direct the IG as far as the law is concerned is the DPP, who can direct him to conduct certain investigations on certain areas. But as to how he does his responsibility is entirely upon himself as an independent officer, state officer who has been appointed by the Constitution. So this person who has been appointed by us or given that responsibility by us is paid by the taxpayer. So he is expected to take certain actions. He's expected to do some certain things in ensuring that he enforces the law and he does investigations. So when he comes to us and he tells us that, as far as I'm concerned, I am sorry, I have just wringed my hands, there is nothing I can do, I do not know what is happening. That is in itself is called inaction. You want to compare it with a lifesaver in a swimming pool. If you are swimming at a certain swimming pool in a public place, and I am the lifesaver. If you see someone drowning, Abdi, you have no responsibility in law to help that person who is drowning. You only probably, Mchungaji will tell you have a moral duty to save the person that is drowning. But when the lifesaver, I have a duty in law and morality, in morals, to ensure that I save the person that is drowning. So if the lifesaver does not save the person that is drowning, action, including manslaughter, that action can be taken against the lifeguard as opposed to you, Abdi, who saw that person drowning but you did not take action. So this is to say that if you are given a certain responsibility, you need to discharge it. You discharge it faithfully, you do it as the law so requires. So I think that was very misguided of the Inspector General of Police to come and make those assertions. So if we have a problem, we just don't want to make it so obvious that if I have offended you, the next thing that you do is now to take a panga and then unanikata mapanga lay. We do not want those things. We want people to be very serious in the manner in which we want to deal with ourselves. Remember, as a democracy, we exercise what is called the art of compromise every day. I mean, if I wanted, probably it will serve me best if I will have placed my legs, on the seat that is seated by Mchungaji to just allow Mchungaji to stand. But I need just to compromise, to allow Mchungaji also to have his comfort of the seat as I endure the situation I am finding myself, so that I can go to my house and place my feet on my table or in another seat. That is how we are supposed to live within the Republic of Kenya. Okay. So we are hoping that even as we speak about what is going to happen tomorrow, even as we reflect about what has happened, that this should be an end. There should be an end. The president has given us his word that they are going to end the abductions. Let that be an end. If there are people who have led to these things, because I know there are certain police officers who sometimes are being misled. We have changed the way of doing things. Now, in as much as we want sometimes to invoke the command theory, where the IG will take responsibility. Remember, the Constitution has also said that people are going to take personal responsibility. Kila mtu anabeba msalaba wake. So if there are police officers who did what is said to have been done, they know from where they are that responsibility will be taken kwao. They are the ones who are going to be
Which
interdicted.
You cannot substantiate
Yes,
at this point.
yes, you cannot but I'm saying, you know, there are certain investigations.
Yes.
Like tomorrow we are going to be recording a statement. So, and you know, sometimes we have change in regimes. Remember, there are people who did what they did during Uhuru's time. They have their own problems right now. So we have people who are being misused probably by this regime, arguably so. They must know that, yes, I'm saying arguably so. I mean, it's just a figure of speech. So that when we are done with this regime and another one comes, because these criminal offenses do not have an expiring date, they must know that probably one day when they fall out of favor or there is a certain change in regime, they're going to be called to question. So people need to know, ukiambiwa ufanye mabaya, unakataa katakata.
Let me go to Reverend now. Reverend, what are some of the recommendations, especially from the NCCK? What have you brought forth, given that we have witnessed so many instances where the church has intervened, given certain recommendations? In this particular instance, what are those recommendations and how can they be applied?
Well, the church, as I've said, has always been on top of everything, because our informers are the grassroots. Our informers are the people that all this happened to. And the church is only saying, if you have any issue with a brother, call that brother, talk to that brother. If the brother is able to change, the better. If there is undermancy and somebody is not willing to change, then you look for a better way of dealing with them. And in Kenya, the better way is the better way of the law. And as we have always said, if there is anybody who has done something that is not right, we have the legal procedures of how to handle these issues. Abduction is something that I would say is primitive, is something that is outdated, is something that should not be allowed to happen in this era. So the church is saying, anything that you think is going wrong, look for a way of solving it within the structures that are there. But apportioning blames and running away from the issue, saying, I don't know, while you are the person who is supposed to know, then that leaves us in a situation where we become hopeless. We would want to see a Kenya where the presidency is respected, all the leadership is respected. But we also want to see a Kenya where those who are respected and are expected to be respected reciprocate by giving the service delivery to the people and ensuring that Article 28 and 29 of the Constitution that talks about human dignity and talks about the security of the people is upheld, is enhanced. And that is what the church is calling the government to do and anybody in leadership to do. At the same time, the church is also saying that we are a people that are supposed to act within the law. If what you are doing is not within the law and is wrong and may lead you also into problems, sometimes we need to learn even to tone down. But our young people are in this space and we just need to guide them in the right way. We just need to talk to them. But we as the church is completely against abductions, is completely against handling with excessive power the people who hold dissenting opinions. Okay. Always people will criticize you, they will critique whatever you are saying, but sometimes that is an opportunity for you to ask yourself, am I communicating well? Because the biggest problem we have in this country today is talking without listening. The people who are supposed to listen so that they act are not listening. They are just talking. and they would want to behave as if we are still in the 90s. In the 90s, there was no internet. In the 90s, nobody had a phone. Now, every person, including a very small child, has a what? Has a phone. And everything we would want to get is real time. So if you are going to be abducting people because they are having dissenting opinions and labeling them as anti-government, anti-progress, anti-good Kenya, we are not going to allow that.
Okay.
Because as a church, we stand and saying, these young people have a voice. If that voice is not resonating well with what you are saying, then look for a better way of handling these young people. You cannot abduct your future, because whenever you abduct young people, you are abducting your future. Whenever you are killing them, whenever you are maiming them, and you know, maybe you are taking them to places and taking their fingerprints, ruining their lives, so that tomorrow when they appear for a job interview, they have a very wrong, record where all their life is ruined because of a suspicion that cannot be substantiated.
Okay.
And so I would want to say that the church is here to say that the abductions are wrong, and we are not supporting it. It cannot be supported by anybody.
Okay, Reverend.
And everybody has to be respected.
Given that we've run out of time, let me split 30 seconds each between Shadrach and Meli. Let me start with Meli. 30 seconds, tafadhali.
Number one is that I've always said that where there is freedom, there are responsibilities. And the responsibility also is with the government and the people. So when you exercise your responsibility, your rights, remember there are also consequences of not observing the law. So, but one of the consequences is not abduction. So anyone who is still doing abduction should know that we have changed. We have information. Information is power. Our children now know how to read, write, and even interpret the law itself. So, and remember when Mwai Kibaki gave us free education in 2003, these are the products, the people who are informed, the people who can make choices for themselves. For our young people, let's be tolerant. At the same time, exercise our rights with responsibility.
Okay, Shadrach, quickly. I know you can speak faster.
Yes, Abdi. I think the overall assessment I have of the situation is that we have a failure in leadership, especially at our parliament or legislators. We have totally failed. I mean, you've not seen our members of parliament, summoning the Inspector General of Police to ask them questions, trying to also mash up resources and try to call people to account, as they did when they were removing Rigiji from office. So in Kajiado North, for example, we have had at least a total of about 5 abductions. But when we have these abductions, we have not even seen our area member of parliament speak about the whole issues. We have not seen him, drawing a motion to parliament, asking, as Babu Owino has done for his constituent, calling or inviting the speaker to come up with a special sitting where these people can discuss. We had in July, we had the abduction of Solomon Dennis Wanda. We had Jemima Lemomo, who were abducted. Only for them to re-emerge, being taken to the police, and then now being charged in court. And those charges were ultimately dismissed from the courts. So we just need to be serious about the personal liberties of people. It is not good for you to torture people, to remove them from the comfort of their houses. Just let us use the means that are there. If someone has wronged, if someone has done something that is not palatable, just present them before a competent court of law for them now to face the full force of law.
Okay, unfortunately, we have run out of time. That is Shadrach Omboy, a senior counsel at the Corridors of Justice. Thank you for joining us. And of course, we do have Reverend Dr. Elias Agola. Thank you for coming in, Reverend, once more. And then finally, Sami Meli, who is no stranger to us, a political analyst here at KBC. And of course, that concludes our conversation this particular morning. Don't go too far. My fellow colleague, that is Kasichana Masha, is up next with Kurunzi Mashinani. Good morning for now.
Thank you. Asante.